Good morning, cuties and comrades. Today is another beautiful day in history, and we've got critical work to do. I'm Sarah Mishnick, and I'll be your critical thinking coach, which means I'll be walking you through the 5 dimensions of what it means to be a critical thinker so you can brighten your life with the colors of critical thinking. So let's go ahead and talk about what this routine is, because just like any type of strengthening coach, I'm going to be helping you strengthen your muscles in each of these elements so that by the end of the week, you can become even more intelligent at harnessing your critical capacities, because you already have critical thinking skills. It's just about learning what those skills exactly are and tips and tricks on how to get them to work for you. So you can harness your intelligence in your life. So let's go ahead and look at the weekly routine. So today is intentional, which means we're going to be talking about what it means to investigate in a thorough and in-depth way. The rest of the week, we'll be talking about essentials, thinking about those things that matter most. How do we make sure we're doing that and determining what really matters? Consequences, how can we make sure that we're engaging in decision making that really considers all the material results that come from our choices? Independence, which is about thinking authentically and originally and divergently, all on your own, being your own kind of thinker. And then empowering is using your individual thoughts about consequences, about things that really matter, and things that you've done with a lot of intention, taking those things and using them to power your actions in the real world so that you can act in an enlightened way. So, with intentionality, this is one of the most interesting, if you ask me, features of critical thinking, because it's all about strengthening that pesky little skill that we have to use every day, which is how do we direct our mental attentiveness towards things? And really, just like as I was saying, with any type of physical training coach, what we're doing is learning how to get motivated, right? Being intentional is all about what are your motivations? What inner workings are going on that help you direct your intention in different places? So, just like how you have to work yourself up for a good workout or going to the gym, this is the same. How do you energize yourself and get yourself excited and exhilarated about learning? It's the same kind of thing. And engaging with knowledge, you want to be intent and stretched. You want to have your blood flowing. This is the same kind of thing. So that's what intentionality is all about. So to learn more about the philosophy, what I have is a bunch of cards. This is my knowledge of the people for the people. Knowledge of the people by the people for the people, where I have gotten thinkers from across different cultures and across different generations. And what have they had to say about intentionality? What can they teach us that will help us on our journey to strengthen our critical thinking skills? So I'm going to toss this stack in my handy dandy container here. Give it a good shake. Reach in, pull from, what do you think? Right there? That one looks good. Let's see what we've got this lovely Monday morning. Ooh, Henry Giroux. Yay. He is one of the critical educators that has inspired me most. I've read a lot of what he has to say. Okay, so this is from his book, Theory and Resistance in Education, which we'll be talking more about what it means to resist. But as we were talking about, the same metaphors apply for strength, physical training, and mental training. This is about building up resistance, like with muscle training. The more you use resistance to strengthen your thinking skills, the stronger your thinking muscles are going to be. So don't be afraid of the word resistance. It literally is about strengthening your muscles and other things. But we'll talk more about resistance later. It's actually super cool. Okay, but for now, I will read. Sorry, it isn't more clear, but I'll read it, what Henry had to say. The crucial element in both knowledge's production and use is not the structure at which it is aimed, but the human agents who use it to give meaning to their lives. Okay, oh boy, I wrote a lot of things on here. I'll read those later and just go off the cuff for now. Okay, so the crucial element in knowledge's production and use is not the structure at which it is aimed, but the human agents who give it meaning to their lives. Okay, so what he's saying here is hitting right on intentionality, that this is crucial, that this is critical, that it is vital to knowing what this whole knowledge building process is all about. If we do not consider human agency, as in me and you have our own decisions when it comes to the knowledge building process, and that determines the knowledge building process that we engage in. When we show up, whatever our motivations, whatever our attitude, whatever our intention, that will shape how we learn and what we learn. So it is hugely important to consider. And it's about, that's how we engage with meaning, right? If we have two kids show up in our classroom and one is excited about learning and the other one is bummed about his weekend and can't stop thinking about it, who's going to be more prepared to engage with knowledge? We all know this is very obvious stuff, but the way we've treated knowledge and intelligence has been standardized. It's cookie cutter, right? Everyone gets the same test. Everyone gets the same script. The whole third grade in this state is teaching the exact same thing on this date. So we're not leaving much room for each individual actor's own inner workings. Last week, one of our thinkers said inner economy. We don't leave any room for that. And that's hugely important. And it's hugely important for you to consider that you need to be aware that how you create meaning and how you interpret things, not only with your attitude, but just with the mental setup of your mind. You have some structures set up in place, and that's what intentionality is talking about. We're going to learn. I told you, a lot of notes. What am I even saying? I have to read it carefully. Whenever you show up, you have a structured mind, and it helps you interpret the world. You've structured up a mind that helps you create meaning that makes sense to you. And yours looks different than mine. And that's what we're talking about when we talk about intentionality, is starting to uncover these different layers of how are our inner economies, our inner workings different from one another, because that's shaping how we show up to learn. And that's shaping how we understand the knowledge and the common sense around us. We have different narratives and different filters that we let knowledge in through, and that changes everything. That changes everything. It is the most important thing to consider. In order to not only produce knowledge, which means to create more of it, right? And to use it in the world, we have to be considering what's in the mind of who is talking. Okay, so let's see. So the general theme from my notes is interpretation, which we talked about. Meaning is huge. How people give meaning to their lives with knowledge is huge. Okay, so awesome. Okay, I like this. All right, so what I'm saying is that this is a huge part of knowledge consciousness that we completely ignore. So that is part of what I'm doing here. We're thinking about thinking today. This stuff is meta. We're going, what is thinking about thinking? It has an official name. It's not epistemology is the theory of knowledge, but thinking about thinking. Ontology is the theory of being. There is something about thinking. There's a science. And that's what we're engaging in today. This is knowledge consciousness. And again, we didn't get this level of learning in school. So there's a lot about knowledge. It is epistemology, the theory of knowledge that we don't have any grasp on. Last week, we talked about how none of us, our historical generation, was not prepared for pulling the Pluto rug out from under us. I think a lot of us were like, oh no. How do I live in a world with 8 planets, right? It wasn't that dramatic, but there is that kind of shakiness of, oh my gosh, if they can change the planets, what else can change? And evolution and changing is part of knowledge consciousness. If you know that this is just how knowledge goes, it wouldn't have felt like such a a sharp drop off a cliff, just a little bit, like Gus and Psyche, right? That's who I talked about last week. He had the rug pulled out from under him. And don't we all relate? It's funny because we all relate to that just a little bit because we didn't get any knowledge consciousness. And intentionality, nobody really told us that this is the crucial element, right? We kind of dance around it in school, but we don't actually talk about it. Okay, so here we go. All right, now we're really gearing up. I had to understand what I was thinking here. Okay, so because we keep individual human agents and their meaning at the heart of what we're doing, this is hugely an independent practice. So this is the opposite of standardized. This is meant to be personalized. If I am considering each one of my learners' intentions in front of me as an educator, then I am personalizing how I'm teaching to them, right? I know which metaphors to use. If they like Avatar: The Last Airbender, I'm going to use more metaphors using that narrative to help them understand, like, oh yeah, okay, giving them frameworks and narratives that their intentions love, their inner workings have already proved that they have that resonate with them, right? You're not going to be able to teach anything that isn't relevant. And we use the word relevant a lot in schools today. I really prefer the word resonating because that hits that inside, right? It's vibrating with something inside of you, inside that inner working, inside your intention. So we're looking for things that resonate. And because of this, we're not trying to indoctrinate anyone. Because critical theory is a tradition that was born of a leftist movement, people think that this is a specific type of political education, as in critical educators like me are trying to impose our views. Now, this is a view, this is a critical educator view, but this isn't about imposing my own truths onto other people. This is on a different level of understanding. And this is saying we're not trying to get them to produce certain things. We're not trying to get them to use certain things. Let me read this first part again. The crucial element in knowledge's production and use is not the structure at which it is aimed. So, man, I was just listening to some pundits who think that critical teachers are trying to specifically dismantle capitalism. Look, the critical tradition, no matter what economic system was in charge, no matter who was in power, no matter what the elites were, right now it is capitalism. But at any point, to be critical is to be independent and empowering. And so a lot of times this will create dissent because individuals, this is about teaching individuals, if they want to dissent, giving them the language to do so. Not saying you have to dissent, not saying you should use your knowledge toward this and toward this. That's exactly the opposite of what we're doing. Instead, we're saying towards this. This is what I care about. I'm putting my intention toward the intentions of my students, not outside. We're not directing them further than that. They, as human agents who Critical theorists believe in sovereignty of each individual, self-sovereignty. We each should have autonomy over our own thoughts and our own actions. So we're not trying to create an army of people who walk and put their intelligence towards this structure, this structure, this structure, this structure. No. But we are opening up and giving you language so you can be prepared to direct your knowledge toward any structure, that you want. That makes capitalists nervous because learners could choose to direct their knowledge at capitalism. They want us to indoctrinate the other way. They want us to say, you can direct your knowledge at everything except capital. Don't touch this. Oh no, this is sacred. This is the highest truth that you can't touch. Honey, that's indoctrination. We're doing the opposite of that. We're liberating and saying, you're the human agent. You decide what are you going to produce knowledge about? We're going to offer up the whole library to you. So that means capitalist and anti-capitalist. That means all of it. Now, we're not opening the door to dehumanizing things. So anti-racist, yes, because that's liberating for all humans to not be tied to their ethnic backgrounds or the color of their skin. It's dehumanizing to offer up the other one. And so we're going to not go for that one and go for racist views. We're not doing that. This isn't both sidesism either. Being critical is saying we're going to pay attention to what's important, but we're not going to direct them toward certain things. That is literally the opposite of what we're trying to do. So I don't want to hear any indoctrination stuff today. This is the opposite of it. So we're preparing students to speak to independently what they care about, what speaks to them, how do they want to use knowledge. I don't get to decide. Just as I don't get to decide how their mental setup already is, that I don't get to choose whether they like Aang, the last Avatar, Airbender. I know it, I love it, but it's been a while. I didn't choose that, but I'm going to, now that I know that about them, I'm going to adapt my teaching toward their meaning, right? So that does make people nervous that education is then in the individual's hands. This education wants to put learning in the people's hands, and not everybody wants that because they're afraid of what might happen. As critical educators, we're unafraid. Where will knowledge lead us? We bravely confront facts. We don't hide from the facts that make us nervous or that might change our life. No, we are brave and we confront those facts and say, yeah, if this is the truth, then we need to act on it, right? So it isn't about the structure at which it's aimed, okay? So everyone relax. It's not about that. It's not about that at all. Okay. All right, I think we've covered it, you guys. I hit most of my notes there. And it was so great to get Henry Giroux in today. Very exciting. The rest of the week, as I said, we're going to be working through these other elements and exploring other critical concepts. Tomorrow is essentials. What will we talk about then? Hard to say, but I assume you can give it your own meaning in your own life. And I don't know how you're going to use the knowledge that I just passed on to you today. I don't know how you're going to use it in your life. That's not why I taught you it. I taught you what I taught you today because it will give you empowering meaning and say, yeah, I matter. That's the kind of truth that I'm passing on. Not like I matter and so then I should do this and this and this because my teacher said no. I'm teaching you that you matter, and how you learn, you should be aware of the setup of your mind and the attitude you have when you show up to knowledge build as much as you can. That's what intentionality is all about. So thank you for joining me today. I'm so excited that you were here to learn this, and now you can use it to direct your intention and attention in different ways today. So be intentional out there and have a colorfully critical day. Bye.